Yes, Diana?
Can I say the names?
Yes.
One of them was Wyatt, and then the other one I forgot.
Okay, one was Wyatt. Good job, right? So that's the main character. There was another character whose name is Brody. So he's the guide that's going to be helping them. All right, so we're gonna look at this next picture. This is another virtual tour, so you can scroll around, and this is the actually the Arkansas River that they were talking about in the story. So on your screen, you should be able to hold your mouse and drag around to see where the story is taking place, or somewhere that is similar to where the story is taking place. Okay, so if you move your screen around, you can see where they are. You can see some people rafting. That's the setting where the story is taking place. Okay, so we're going to move now into the reading, and we're going to be thinking about what is the story about. Okay, so we're gonna go back over to the Zoom screen, and we're going to read, and I'll pause and ask questions. Here we go. So you should be back over on the Zoom screen. All right, so we're going to begin reading. At certain points, I'm gonna pause and ask some questions. So, Into the Rapids by Bradford H. Robbie. Bradford H. Robbie has written for highlights. In this story, a boy falls into the river during a rafting trip. As you read, take notes on what Wyatt does when he is in the river. 1 minute, Wyatt was perched on the edge of the raft, like everyone else. The next, he was falling overboard right into the monstrous rapids. They were on the Arkansas River, navigating a 10-mile stretch of white water that passed through one of Colorado's deepest canyons. There were 7 people on the raft, 6 paddlers and Brody, their guide. Brody had cautioned them that some of the rapids would be intense. "Just follow my command and we'll do fine," he yelled over the thundering river. Wyatt had become accustomed to Brody's instructions of forward 1 stroke and forward 2, but now Brody was telling them to paddle backward. Just seconds earlier, they had freed another raft that was hung up on a rock by intentionally slamming into the stalled raft. But the momentum had caused their own raft to enter some tricky rapids too. Okay. Too quickly. "All back, everyone hard," Brody shouted. We don't want to hit this," but it was too late. The raft rammed into the canyon wall. As they bounced back, one end of the raft was sucked downward. Suddenly, water was pouring in everywhere. The paddlers struggled to keep their balance, but as the boat popped back up, Wyatt was thrown backward into the water. His body took off like a shot. He was overwhelmed by the river's frightful power. The water tossed him around, pummeling him with waves, pulling him under, thrusting him up. He caught breaths whenever he could. Okay, so we're going to pause there quickly. In the chat, I want you to write a hashtag. So what just happened in the story? You're going to write a hashtag in the chat. So in the chat, for example, I might put hashtag fell overboard. Okay, so in the chat, you're going to write in a hashtag. What just happened? In the Zoom chat, you can write what just happened in the story. So I see hashtag pulled under, hashtag Wyatt fell in the lake. Hashtag fell over, hashtag fell. Good. Right? So Wyatt fell into the lake. Hashtag NI oop oop. Good. Hashtag fell in the lake. Good. All right, so we're going to continue. All right, so let's continue reading on page 2. So Wyatt just fell into the lake. Let's see what's going to happen. He looked over his shoulder, expecting to see Brody about to toss him the lifeline, but he'd already moved 50 yards ahead of the raft. I can't believe this is happening, Wyatt thought. On either side of him, the canyon walls rose straight up like skyscrapers, offering nothing to hold on to. He tried to remember the safety talk he had half listened to. If you fall out, we'll either pull you back in or I'll throw you a lifeline, Brody had told him. Wyatt's brother, Johnny, had leaned towards him, whispering, "Wouldn't it be awesome to fall in?" Like a flume ride, Wyatt had joked, grinning. Dad had shushed them, making it clear they should be listening to the guide. If you do fall in, Brody had continued, don't stand up. Float on your back, feet facing downriver and held high so legs can cushion any rocks you might run into. Wyatt rolled onto his back now, pointing his feet downstream, and lost his grip on the paddle that was still in his hand. He watched as the paddle quickly disappeared into the white water. He knew he had to let go of the idea that someone was going to swoop down and save him. I have to get out of this myself, he realized. He thought of his middle school basketball tournament, how he kept calm and blocked out the crowd while shooting foul shots. Don't panic, he told himself. The river quieted momentarily, and Wyatt was able to catch his breath. Around the bend, he saw a stretch of riverbank with some tumbled down rocks that might provide a handhold. When he saw something even more promising, the raft they'd freed earlier was pulled up alongside the riverbank. Its crew spotted Wyatt and started waving frantically. "Swim," they shouted, "swim to us." His hopes ignited. Wyatt turned onto his stomach and swam. He gave it everything he had. "You can make it," they yelled. He was getting closer, but the relentless current was pushing him downstream, away from the raft. Wyatt adjusted his angle by aiming higher upriver and swam even harder, using every last ounce of energy. Finally, he was just a yard away. Knowing this was his only chance, he took 2 strokes and lunged for the raft. So we're going to pause there again, and in the chat, you're going to hashtag, what did Wyatt do? In the chat, you're going to write a hashtag. What did Wyatt do? Okay, so what did he do, right? He fell out of the raft, but then he did something. What did he do? Put it in the chat.
I'm going to give you guys some options to pick from in case that helps, okay? You can look at my chat in just 2 seconds.
Okay, good. So I see Vernon fell out and he was floating on his back. Okay, hashtag Wyatt listened to the guide. I see one that says lost the paddle, right? He screamed and cried, or he calmed down. He started to swim. Good. Hashtag he did what his dad told him. Good. Okay, so we're going to continue reading, and then we're going to transition to your next class. So let's see what happens to Wyatt. Immediately, he felt strong hands grabbing hold of his life vest and pulling him from the river. As he collapsed in a shaking heap, someone asked him if he was okay, but Wyatt was too winded to speak. A moment later, his team's raft pulled up next to them. After Wyatt had recovered, Dad, Brody, and the other guide helped him climb into their raft. You did a great job getting out of a dangerous situation, Brody told him. You really kept your head. Wyatt grinned self-consciously, and then Brody said, okay, team, we've got one more set of rapids today, and then we're home free. Wyatt looked at him in disbelief. Don't worry, they're small, Brody said reassuringly. Besides, the river is our only ticket home. Wyatt nodded as Brody handed him an extra paddle. He had a new respect for the river's power, but now that same power was going to carry him safely back. Brody pushed them off. Forward paddle, everyone, he called, and they started for home. All right. So that's the end of the reading. What you're going to do in the chat, just kidding, we're going to pick up another time. Right now, we're going to transition to your math class. Okay, so I'm going to put your Zoom link in the chat. Okay, also, if you go onto your screen, you'll be able to see, if you go back to your Schoology page, you'll be able to see the links there. So I'm going to put the link in the chat for your math class. If you know how to get to it by yourself, you can go ahead.
You guys did great. Nice job today.